Chapter 4. Armoured Core. The gunship's engines were still fading when we broke into a run. My legs burned with every augmented burst, the mechanical joints whining under the strain. The disgust from the mycelium field still sat heavy in my gut, but I used it now. I let it sharpen into something colder, something useful. Even then, I knew that kind of anger was dangerous, the kind that could keep you alive or eat you alive. I had not yet learned the difference. "Data packet incoming," I said. My eyes flashed blue as the fresh tactical overlay flooded my vision. The armoured core was less than 800 meters ahead, buried inside the ruined refinery. Around us, the battle had grown louder, uglier. Protectorate and Directorate lines were still holding the perimeter, but in the distance I saw fresh swarm tendrils punching down through the spore clouds like living meteors, slamming into sections of the defence and turning them into chaos. We ignored the smaller command nodes. No time. Flying bioforms shrieked overhead. Cyton hybrids surged out of the smoke, some almost man-shaped, others hunched and beast-like, their human-like faces twisted into something obscene. Chitin spikes whistled past us. One regular Marine screamed and dropped, clutching his chest. Another fell right beside him. I didn't stop to count how many regulars we were losing. I couldn't, but I felt every single one of them. Kael ran at my shoulder, jaw tight, breathing hard. His usual sarcasm was gone. He hated being on the ground like this. He hated the press of ruined metal and the feeling of being bottled in. It reminded him too much of the mining collapses back on Carrol's 9. A fresh wave of hybrids slammed into our flank. Pivoted, rail rifle barking. Hypervelocity rounds tore through carapace and flesh. Kael matched me shot for shot. Behind us, the remaining augmented Marines moved like ghosts. We reached the armoured core. The massive blast doors had been half melted by the crash, but they were still standing. We poured inside, weapons up. The interior was dark, lit only by emergency strips and the faint blue glow of our eyes. The moment the last of us crossed the threshold, the gunship and drones shifted into a protective orbit overhead. I did a fast head count. 50 augments had made it in, not a single regular Marine. The realization hit me like a physical blow. All those young faces I'd seen on the dropship, gone. Cut down while we pushed forward with our faster legs and our reinforced bodies. Guilt twisted in my chest, sharp and ugly. I shoved it down. There would be time for that later. Also, I told myself then. Split into fire teams, I ordered. 3 groups. Secure the perimeter inside, then clear the core. Chips and data cores first. Move fast. The augments moved without hesitation, breaking into 3 tight teams. Kael stayed glued to my side as we took the central corridor. The rumble of the battle outside was constant now, a deep, rolling thunder that shook dust from the ceiling. Every few seconds we heard the shriek of gunship cannons and the higher-pitched whine of combat drones tearing into the sky. We encountered resistance almost immediately, but it was light. A handful of Cyton forms had made it inside before us. We put them down quickly, the confined space amplifying every shot and every scream. One lunged at me from a side passage. I put 2 rounds through its torso before it could close the distance. Kael's breathing was tighter than usual. He kept glancing at the low ceiling and the twisted metal walls, but he never slowed. We reached the main vault. The armoured core was still mostly intact. We worked in silence, prying open sealed compartments, ripping out the irreplaceable zero-space filaments and the research archives we could carry. Outside, the battle roared louder. Another swarm tendril must have crashed down somewhere close. The ground trembled under our boots. Drop ships were already inbound. We had minutes. I slammed the last data core into my pack and looked at the handful of augments still working beside me. Kael caught my eye across the chamber. For once he didn't crack a joke. He just looked ready to get the hell out. "Load up," I called. We sprinted the short distance to the cleared landing zone just outside the core and handed off the heavy packages to the waiting crews. The gunship and drones kept up a constant storm of fire above us, buying us the precious seconds we needed. Last-minute orders streamed into our overlays. New extraction zone, a few kilometers north, near an active front line. The dropships were already full with the extracted materials. We would not be boarding. We were to proceed on foot, link up with regular forces at the new LZ, and pull out together from there. I watched the last drop ship lift off, heavy with the chips and data we had bled for. The sound of its engines faded quickly into the roar of the wider battle. My emotions were a storm. Intense focus. I was in my element now, planet-side, doing what I was built for. But underneath it all was a growing worry. The planetary fight was getting worse by the minute. This fight was only getting started. The planet I knew deep down would eventually be declared as lost. But we had to keep going.